Hey everybody, welcome back. Sorry for the delay. I hit start recording and then it didn't start and then I looked and it was 3 seconds deep. Hell, I had 3 seconds of silence at the start of the video. According to the YouTube Creator Studio, that indicates a 36% rise in people clicking off the video. Today's workaday world, people don't have time for 3 seconds of silence. Well, you know what? We're gonna change that. Mississippi. Okay, we're good. The Mississippi doesn't count. That's just like a clock's tick. We're Kane. We probably haven't been Kane for 6 months. Feels good to be on random again. We have just the slightest bit of confidence underneath us. Not very much, admittedly, because we've been on a real... I mean, I'm trying to think of the right verbiage. It's not like I have a lack of words. Like, I could easily put, you know, we're on a downward spiral lately. But I don't think we're on a downward spiral. You know, I think we were rollerblading downhill, and then the game threw, like, a bunch of broken glass in front of us. If we fall down 2 or 3 times, I think that's to be expected. To be able to not fall down... roll around, get the glass caught in your bare skin. You ever seen 1977's Dario Argento horror film, Suspiria? I haven't seen the remake yet. I heard it was interesting. I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, I heard it was artsy. And the original was artsy, too. So it's not, it's in keeping with the character, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But there's a scene in that movie, and I mean, like, if you're, I'm eating, it's okay. We're gonna be, it's just words. You don't have to imagine it. I mean, even if you imagine it, it's just images in your head. You know, we'll get through this together, this trying time. There's a scene where a young woman is running away from what she perceives to be a malevolent force chasing her, and she sneaks through, like, an open window that's above the height of a door, you know, like a door that's is got a window over top of it, like an old schoolroom or something like that. When she jumps through into the other room, she lands literally in just like an incredibly large pile of barbed wire. And then, like, the more she tries to get out, obviously it's like sharp quicksand. It just pulls her deeper and deeper in. And you know, when you're watching, it's a very horrifying moment. It's very effective. It's one of, like, the most affecting moments that I've ever seen in a horror movie, because there's nothing to telegraph it coming at all. But it is in keeping with the kind of, like, hopeless tone of the movie. However, over time I've come to question, what is this room for? Is this a barbed wire storage room that she just happened to, you know, go in the wrong way? It's where they keep all their barbed wire at the dance academy? Or they were aware? I guess there's a certain element of, like, you know, the people in the movie are pulling the strings to make stuff happen, so maybe they're engineering her to go into the room, but anyway. Suspiria, that's one of those movies where when they were remaking it, I was like, this is a good remake target. It's a film from like 40 years ago that not that many people saw, but is kind of like a cult classic. Maybe if they put an artsy director behind it, they can, you know, they can tell the story in a new way, not necessarily a better way, but in a new way that could get people more interested in it again. And I haven't seen it yet, but I will, because it's an Amazon Prime original, right? So, or it was funded by Amazon. Maybe not Amazon Prime original, but you know what I mean. Once I finish The Terror, maybe. I did see today, and, you know, it's a classic bit, oh, I guess who's getting old, but I know that, you know, there's a new milestone in my life. Disney announced what, you know, their new content plans are for the next few years, and they said they were looking at remaking or rebooting, let's say, the Night of the Museum franchise, and I was like, I think this might be a first. I think this, and it'll happen many times, God willing, but I think this might be the first remake of a movie that's so recent that I was already too snobby to respect it the first time it came out. Most of the other remakes that have come out, don't get hit, this is a pivotal moment. By the way, I'm not talking smack about Night of the Museum. Sort of. I don't think we should, unfortunately. I'm not talking smack about Night of the Museum. Here's my opinion on Night of the Museum. It's a movie that was made for kids. It came out when I was 17, I think. It's a great get for us right there. It was not made for me. It was not made for, you know, somebody in their first year of college, you know? It was made for a different audience. So I'm not insulting Night of the Museum. However, I was like, a remake? Didn't that movie come out? Like, you know... Well, I guess now, to be honest, it did come out close to 15 years ago. So that feels weird to say, but... I was like, this is the first time there's ever been a remake where I've been like... Most of the time the remakes are like, the original's good, but I don't think it needs a remake. This time I was like, well, the original also kind of stunk. Why are you remaking it? But I do remember reading that they made a staggering amount of money. I do recall that. Which is kind of Disney's forte. And, you know, you get the idea. I'm pro-Disney, I'm anti-Disney. It's a complicated, you know. I'm pro them. I love the movies that go dun 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 dun. I will also probably be dragged to see Frozen 2 against my will, so I don't want to write a check with my mouse that my butt... With my mouse? Write a check with my mouth that my butt can't cash, you know? You get the idea. I was trying to see what else was in there. Or trying to remember what else was in there. I know they were talking about remaking or rebooting the Home Alone franchise. Home Alone is still a classic movie. But it's interesting to think about how they would make a Home Alone in the modern day. Even, like, the central premise of Home Alone, even in the 1990s, required stretching the bounds of realism a little bit. Like, a family so busy getting ready for vacation, they actually left one of their children at home, and he didn't wake up when they were getting their luggage and suitcases, etc., etc. It's a little bit unlikely. You know? Home Alone 3 is absolutely horrible. It's a blight on the medium. But at least it had kind of like a more plausible plot, even though it's a substantially worse movie. You know, the kid was home alone because he was kind of like, he was sickly, you know? So he was home alone a lot. He was sick from school. Robbers cased the place, didn't account for, you know, a smart but frail, you know, 10-year-old kid to be in the domicile. But anyway, in the modern day, it seems even more implausible. How are you supposed to get a Kevin McAllister that's home alone? Like, when they got to the airport, wouldn't they just be like, hey, Kevin, call an Uber. Dude, just get an Uber, Kevin. Maybe the wet bandits are the Uber driver. I don't know, dude. Or maybe Kevin's parents are so social media obsessed that they're too busy posting about how awesome their vacation is going to be and they leave Kevin at home. I don't know. Maybe Kevin's like, Mom, I can't leave. I gotta train for the Fortnite World Championships. And she's like, okay, honey, you're the one who pays the bills. Get that prize money. Go get that bread, Kevin. I don't know. Look, I'm not a writer. We've been talking a lot about movie premises in the NLSS, but, you know, I don't work for Disney yet. Mostly because they've pretty much pulled out of YouTube. Remember when they used to be a big investor in Polaris? Remember when Polaris existed? I think Polaris still does exist. They're just, you know, they've downsized, which is, you know, actually, it's not a bad thing. You know, a lot of those networks from back in the day, they went through the classic sort of like new business procedure, you know? Wait a minute, you can make money doing this? Okay, here's $1 billion, and we're not making as much money anymore. I think we gotta downsize. There's no shame in that. That's business, brother. You gotta spend money to make money. It happens. You know, Machinima was purchased by Warner Brothers. You know, The Dark Knight. Looney Tunes. It's crazy to think about. Now, mind you, Machinima doesn't exist anymore, because then Warner Brothers had them for like a year or so, and then they were sold to Full Screen, which is where they're at right now. Anyway, this is just food for thought. Yo, this is a lot of good pills in here. This run should be sorted. Still a little light on damage, but rate of fire has come up nicely. No major complaints, obviously. And, I mean, Maggie's Faith is an awesome trinket for us on a run like this. Especially if we can get some deals with the devil to leverage our HP. I don't remember what else Disney said they were going to remake, but there were like 4 movies that they were like, oh yeah, in the next few years we're going to remake these. Like, yeah, I get it. I do. I mean, you know, they're making so much money. Did you guys see a Disney by like July of this year, they had made more money at the box office in a single calendar year than any other studio in history? And the previous record holder was also Disney. I know you're looking at that one room, and you're like, hey man, why don't you go re-roll the run? Here's why I'm not going to re-roll the run right away. I might, but I'm going to just say your expectations. I probably won't. We've been on such shaky ground in Isaac over the past 2 weeks or so. I really just want to, you know, build good habits in the game. It's not to say, I mean, the reroll could just as easily help us as hurt us, to be honest. But on top of all that, like, we got something pretty good going on right now. I don't really want to mess with it until we get a little bit more comfortable. I think that makes sense. Moreover, by the way, we have so much money, I'm just going to suck this up. Probably would rather have Steam Sale than a speed upgrade, because we don't really need speed upgrade. Mind you, we have so much money, we didn't really need Steam Sale, but blah, blah, blah. Doesn't really matter. But both of them were good, but not that good. So perhaps we will reroll, but probably not. In the future, I guarantee. You know, we start to get a 20 streak or something like that. Get a little bit more confidence. We're like, no reroll can harm us. But for now, you got to get it down to brass tacks, you know? It's like I'm a professional athlete doing a rehab stint in the minor leagues, you know? We're coming off like Tommy John surgery. You can't just put me in against the Washington Nationals or the Houston Astros, you know? I gotta play against the Myrtle Beach, you know, Mudcats or whatever the heck the minor league affiliates are called. I don't remember. It's been a while since I played the show. Great game, though. Today is a Wednesday, by the way. Nothing much to report. The long and, I mean, I don't want to call it a lazy summer, but like you know, the same way, like, you know, you get a lazy river where you kind of like lay in an inner tube and just go down an incredibly unsteep slide at an amusement park. That's what this summer feels like to me. You know, still working hard, but also enjoying the weather. Help. Help. It's been an anecdoteless sort of existence lately, to be honest with you. And I'm for it. Maybe I'm exiting an anecdote phase of my life. Probably not. It's just I've been to the grocery store a lot less lately. Well, that's not fair. You know what's? It's actually been a business decision. It's compromised my business of having wacky anecdotes. I've been going to the grocery store that has provided so many anecdotes a lot less often. And especially, like, you know, I've also been going to the grocery store at more normal hours. This has definitely led to, like, a little bit of a reduction in wacky stories, to be honest with you. Like, you know, you get a different kind of anecdote depending on what store you go to. You know, the anecdote you get at, like, a Whole Foods is much different than the anecdote you get at a No Frills. Like, at a the classic No Frills anecdote. No Frills, by the way, is it's a grocery store chain in Canada that has no frills. You know, by that I mean, hey, do you have any organic kidney beans? No, that would be considered a frill. You ever see the aesthetic photos where it's just like a yellow label that says like beans, peas? That's No Name Brand, literally called No Name Brand. It's the flagship label of No Frills. Labels are frills, but anyway. By the way, No Frills is also totally fine. I think we can definitely afford to check this. I've done a lot of shopping at No Frills in my day. It's not like, you know, you're not getting trash. It's not like somebody's cooking up a bunch of, you know, banana peels and then trying to sell it to you. It's still food. And it's not even like, you know, it's not like you go there and all the bananas are, you know, like 1 day away from going stale. It's just like, you know, hey, do you have prosciutto? No, we have ham. Hey, do you have Cajun turkey? No, we have turkey. We got wet pink slices of turkey. We don't have Cajun turkey. We don't have Mediterranean sun-dried tomato turkey. We don't have any of that. Gambled and lost on that one. I was hoping we'd be able to get a card or something out of that. But it's otherwise totally fine. And like cheap. Not to be confused with another grocery store that might sound cheap, Save On Foods, that is actually pretty expensive in the whole scheme of things. Not quite Whole Foods level. But the anecdote I always turn to with No Frills is multiple times I've been in there and I have watched somebody grab like a 500 milliliter can of Arizona iced tea, drink it in the store. This is real, by the way. And I have to preface it with that because you're not going to believe it. They'll drink the entire can in the store, and then you're like, that's fine. That's not weird. They're going to pay for it later. No, they're not going to pay for it later. But even more audaciously, I've seen them go up and be like, hey, I've got all these groceries. Also, I brought in this single can to recycle. Can you give me my 10-cent refund? Now, obviously, you know, these are people who have problems in their lives, and I'm not begrudging them, you know, basically robbing the corporation for $1.15 or whatever the net cost of this would end up being. I'm just saying, I've seen it happen more than once, which is pretty outrageous to me. The anecdote that I always turn to from like Whole Foods is they have like a hot bar style like dinner setup. And I've seen people, like, give the third degree to the workers at Whole Foods. And be like, hey, this butter chicken, does it have any amino derivatives in it? I'm trying to, it's not amino. I forget the word that they use, but it was like, because I read it in a recipe recently. It was like, hey, don't be afraid to use, like, tamari if you're not afraid of you know, soy aminos. And it was something like that they were saying. They were like, does this have any raspberry ketones in it? And the worker was just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And they kind of like went off in a huff, like, this guy doesn't even know if the butter chicken they make here has any raspberry ketones in it. Anyway, I digress. But I've been going to a grocery store. It's been much less you know, much more raspberry ketone and much less, you know, the situation that happened the last time I went to that other grocery store where one dude was like, hey, can I use your bathroom? And they're like, all our bathrooms are broken. And he said, oh, so you're going to force me to urinate on the ground. That's the kind of grocery store anecdote I've been missing. By the way, I encourage you, you know, if you come to Vancouver, if you want to test the validity of these anecdotes. If you say there's no way that these anecdotes are real, you will see 8 raspberry ketone people. They'll be wearing athleisure. And you will see 9 you're gonna force me to pee on the ground people. Waiting to cross at every walk sign. It's a city of extremes. And then there's me, the extreme centrist. Just sitting there going, actually there's no difference between raspberry ketones and peeing on the floor. You idiot. You absolute imbecile. Now let me hit you with some real truth here. This run is very resilient. It's got a lot of tolerance for mistakes. However, we are not in dire need but very, very interested in picking up damage ups on this floor. We got a lot of HP. Our damage kind of blows. It's been in the same spot for like, I don't know, like 4 floors now. We haven't really improved it. Basically, since we picked up the bones, we haven't really improved it much. So this, unfortunately, is not really gonna help. We pretty much have to stick with the nail. I actually think it's so minor, but I think it's worth taking a stab at that. We are on Necropolis too, then. You know, if it had paid out with a crawl space, maybe, but probably not, or a black market, we definitely could have gotten a lot out of it. The thing is, we gain 1 HP per floor. We shouldn't be throwing it away for nothing, but we can throw it away for like a calculated benefit, I think, is fair. I definitely do not care about boss rush with our current statistics. I think it's much more advantageous for us to just go through the entire floor. Sounds good to me, brother. Had good team unity yesterday. We've been doing early unity. It feels weird to be done with like the stream before 8 or 9 p.m. my time. I didn't know what to do with myself. I went on like a 2-hour walk last night. Actually, I did a lot. Like, I'm getting to that point where like I've talked about this. It's I wouldn't say it's like a big thing between Cade and I, but we have like occasionally we have different relaxation ideals, if that makes sense. And I think a lot of people out there are going to relate to what I'm about to say here. It's taken me many years to tease this apart. But a lot of people relax. They sit down, have a cup of coffee, just leisurely kind of like hang out. And this is, I'm outing myself as the weird one here, but I don't think it's that weird. That is not relaxation for me personally. I don't find it relaxing most of the time. Like the idea of grabbing a cup of coffee and just sitting down in a coffee shop, it doesn't stress me out. Like, that's a little extreme, but I do get a little stir crazy, if that makes sense. Like, once I'm done with my drink, I want to go. Like, I would rather, even in like winter, I would rather take my coffee to go and then like drink it while I'm walking around, if that makes sense. I find that less stressful, because I mean, it's like I'm tricking my brain into feeling like I'm doing something. And I'm not trying to say like you have to be 100% productive at any, you know, given juncture. I just like literally don't find it relaxing to just sit. I'm genuinely, it sounds like self-inflated, but I'm like jealous of people that do find it relaxing. Come on, don't make me do it twice in one run. You know, I'm gonna re-roll this whole run because I'm not convinced that we actually have the win locked up here without extra damage. So I do appreciate what we got here. It's a big damage upgrade. We did lose our spacebar item, but so what, you know? I'm genuinely a little bit jealous of people that do just enjoy having a little sit down, because I'm the weird one, like by far. Like, you know, it makes people uncomfortable because, you know, I'll go out to like a restaurant and, you know, I'm not like, we gotta eat as fast as possible. But like once I'm done and once Kate's done with her meal, I'm like, my brain is like, I want to leave this place as soon as possible. I want to be clear. It's not because I'm like anxious. I just get a little antsy. I'm like, what am I doing at this place when I could be at home? So yesterday, I, you know, finished the stream a little bit early, and I was like, what am I gonna do? So I walked around for like 2 hours. I came home, and I was like, what the heck, dude? It's only like 9 p.m. Right, why would I go in there? That's a good point. Wait, we should have taken the shove or whatever. It's not that big a deal. It was like 9 p.m. and I was like, I don't know what to do, dude. So I just took a bath. I take like a bath every 3 months. I was like, it's a way to kill some time. Then I went to bed like 45 minutes earlier. I don't know what to do with that bounty of time. Always wondered, like, I don't know if there's, I'm not going to say there's like a genetic component to this, but definitely like, you know, like a nurture component to this. So I always wondered, like, my dad worked super hard during the weeks. Monday to Friday. So you would think, like, on the weekend, he would be like, it's time to relax. As a teenager, I was like, Dad, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm just, I'm working on the crown molding on this part of the flooring over here. Hey, Dad, what are you doing? Oh, I'm regrouting the tile in the bathroom because it's, you know, it's gone a little bit discolored. Oh, I'm reconking the bathroom. Oh, I'm, you know, blah, 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 or the bathtub, I guess. You get the idea. Like, he's always doing something. And every time, yo, this time I got a plan for you. You know, even when we go there now, you know, he's like, check it out. We built these cabinets by hand, you know. We built, you know, barreled and coffered our own ceilings. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, it just slow down and enjoy life. But now I'm realizing that I am my father's son, like Spencer Krug said. That's not the item we wanted, but that's okay. Because the idea of just like, you know, I worked hard. I guess this is the thing, is like, the weekend is like downshifting, you know? It's very hard, I think, if you spend... Actually, you know what? Let's think of it, I think a better metaphor is to think of it like jogging, you know? When you're jogging, you don't want to like stop and start. That's almost like more exhausting than just maintaining a consistent pace. So if you're used to, and I don't have the hardest job in the world, but I do, you know, I work a lot. If you're used to, you know, maintaining like an X pace, to just go down to 0, like on a given day, and then have to amp back up on like a Monday, it feels weird. You'd rather be like, you know, now I'm still gonna work at least a little bit on my day off, but I'm gonna work on things that are like, you know, they improve, you know, my state of living, like I do a bunch of chores or something like that, or you know, like, you know, if you work hard at your, you know, desk job, let's say Monday to Friday, maybe you want to get some exercise on your day off, you know what I mean? But when I was younger, it was like, it was not that way. And when I say younger, I mean like, you know, we're talking the pre-Isaac days, where on a weekend I'd be like, it's the weekend. Had a really tough week at school this week, sitting in a chair and having somebody smarter than me pass on all the wisdom in the world at 0 cost to myself. Time to play some video games. F you, Mom. I'm not gonna vacuum my room. I had a hard week at school. Leave me alone. I never talked to my mom like that, but you get the idea. Now I like it. Wake up on like a Saturday. I have like a cup of coffee. After the cup of coffee, I'm like, it was a nice vacation. Now let's, you know, do the dishes, vacuum, do the laundry. And it sounds cynical, but I think it's a very common thing for people to go through. I was talking about it with my brother-in-law, and I was like, because he also, I mean, he's a doctor. He has like a real long hour, stressful job. I'm not talking, he's not a GP, no disrespect, man. Like, my man's removing, like, shrapnel from people's jaws and stuff like that. But anyway, I was talking to him and I was like, I just don't feel, like, the most anxious I feel on a regular basis is when I'm sitting around doing nothing, when I still have, like, the energy to at least do something, you know? Like, I don't know if it's, something that happens to people like as they get older. And then I want to be clear, I'm not like clinical about it. You know, it's not like I go out to the movies and like half an hour in I'm like shaking. You know, I can draw limits, but is this an... There goes my deal with the devil chance. Don't let the reroll screw this run up. I mean, this run still feels good. It's just this floor is screwing with us a little bit. Don't freak out. We're still totally fine. The stars card could even do some awesome stuff for us. But, you know, it's just, I don't know. I think it happens to a lot of people. I hope, at least. That's why I bring it up, not to be like, oh, I'm such a good guy. I vacuum. I'm not like other guys. I'm a cool guy. I do the dishes. It's more like, anybody out there watching this going through the same thing right now? Hey, we're not alone. What? I honestly did not remember that I was on the womb too. Of course it's not an XL floor. Okay, watch out for the Bob's brain. Still got an 18% chance to deal with the devil. It's not that bad. Another reason I bring it up is like, hey, maybe you're like, you know, 21 right now, and you're like, I don't want to do the dishes. Hey man, I was there. You know, I had a very nihilistic attitude towards chores, especially vacuuming. I was always like, you know, man, why would I vacuum? There's just going to be more dirt on the floor after I vacuum. It's always advantageous to vacuum later because you're sucking up more of the dirt. However, it's always now, so never vacuum. I know I didn't never vacuum, but I'd vacuum much less frequently. No deal with the devil is acceptable, annoying but acceptable. Now I'm like, I got like 25 minutes to kill. I should just vacuum. You teleported me to the same room? I'm as busted as it sounds. I might rather have had you teleport me further away from the boss. It's just the principle of the matter. We actually have to be a little careful. I think we have like 5 or 6 red heart containers. It's good enough to win. But I would probably say now, I would probably have rather had lower damage like we did and still keep the nail. But I don't think we made a rash decision. I honestly think we made a pretty reasonable gamble. You know, we knew the risks going into it, and there were potential rewards as well, don't forget. Not just risks. I don't think we need to play a perfect game. It's a little nub right here. Okay. That's fine, because I'm thinking, you know, finally we got an opportunity for these. 2 is already better than expected. 3 is extremely good. You couldn't quite get the Holy Quadrilogy, but that's alright. Okay, we've chosen wisely. Dude, the Spirit Hearts, very rare that this comes to pass, but the Cathedral might be the saving grace on this run. Despite having no items, gave us 4 Spirit Hearts. It's kind of an unbelievable turn of events there. So we got a good luck stat. I would anticipate getting some extra items on the chest. Oh, you! Right in front of me. Why? Why you gotta be such a jerk about it, dude? Okay, that one pretty much resides entirely on me. I'm willing to say, though, I think that was a little Mega bomb situation, a little Mr. Mega coming to bite me in the butt. I don't know, man. My psyche, with respect to Isaac, is at a point where I could withstand being the author of my own destruction. And, like, not blame the game, but it would be very frustrating for me. It'd be very frustrating for me, indeed. Okay, well, let's see where we're at heading into the next floor. I kind of blew it on the Isaac fight, to be honest. As I'm sure you saw. Could be worse. Oh, dude, it's an unbelievable quality of items down here. I would go so far as to say we are definitely saved. Now, we could save PhD for heals, but I'm confident enough now that I actually don't think it's necessary. I would say the boss is probably this way. Alright, so please rest assured, I am not taking this one for granted. I definitely think, you know, a couple of rolls go differently. We find ourselves in a much more disadvantageous bargaining position, but, you know, definitely was not worth the risk there. That's kind of Isaac in general, you know? I think people are way too eager. Maybe it's different now, to be honest, but I think people are very eager to call out, like, carried. Nobody notices, well, less people notice the little things that, you know, the gambles you take that don't work out. It's when the gamble you take works out, people are like, wow, you got lucky. Not that there's too many people watching Isaac at this point that are overly concerned about, you know, whether the game has been unfairly good or bad with respect to the player. I think it's nice, dude. It's nice to be in this kind of like, I was going to call it a retirement period, but that's not really fair. But kind of like the golden age of Isaac. You know, when you see like senior citizens exercise, most of the time, they're not doing, you know, like high impact stuff where, you know, there's a lot of intensity. They're just doing, you know, Tai Chi or water aerobics or chair yoga or something like that. And I feel like that's where we're at in the pre-DLC period right now. You know, we're like, why walking? You know, just keeping the joints moving, keeping the blood pumping. That's the only thing that matters right now. You know, we're just making sure we're getting a little bit of exercise time so our doctor doesn't yell at us when we go to visit them. Once a week. When the DLC comes out, we can be back in, you know, lightweight, baby! Sorry, I shouldn't shout towards the end of an episode. I know people are closing in on Dreamlands. Come on, Bob's brain. Come on. Hit him. I want you to hit him. You can't kill me at this point, so, like, every time you hit me, it's just like, haha. You made me use 10% of my real power. Get me out of this run. There's a couple of minefields there, but hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy it. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See ya!